Greetings from Ormond Beach, Florida. This is Diane Michael from the Callan Group, and today I'm going to discuss briefly how print newsletters and email newsletters make a great marriage. Many businesses I've seen in the past few years have reduced their marketing budgets and reviewed where they're spending their money. And some of the businesses that I work with used to send out print newsletters on a monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly basis. And with the rising cost of ink and paper and postage, which is always going up, they saw the need for really getting more green in their print newsletters and have come to us for their email newsletters. They make a great marriage. The two work hand in hand together, and there are pros to each. And we recommend any way that you can keep in touch with your customers to do that. But there are a few things I'd like to just talk about the print side and then the email side, so that you can look at more of a positive, more positive over on this side versus another, or how they both might work with your business. If you have a print newsletter, the pros that I would say is that it's going to reach everyone that comes into your establishment or that you send to that doesn't have an email address. I know that's kind of crazy. There are still some people out there that don't have an email address. So if you have a way of looking at your database and seeing how many emails versus how many physical addresses you have, you may be able to cut down on your expense right off the bat on your print side if you did do an email newsletter and just emailed them what's being printed out instead of sending to everyone on your database. But so that's a great thing about the print side, is that you'll keep in touch with those people even if they don't have an email address. Now, nothing's 100%, so of course some things get lost in the mail, or maybe the person that you're sending to is gone for a month. So there's no 100% way to ensure whether you're using postage or email to ensure that your message gets to every single person on your list, but the numbers are pretty high that they are. Also for print, let's say you have it in your establishment and they come in and they receive the email newsletter, but they didn't have time to look at it when they received it in their inbox, and they never went back to it. So now they come up to your counter or sit in your chair and you have the newsletter there. They can then take that with them. Now, of course, with print, the shelf life is going to be much greater than an email newsletter. Emails capture your attention within 5 seconds, and sometimes even shorter. So you really have to put in these beautiful pictures and colors and have catchy titles and slogans on the email newsletter side. Same with the print. Just like a magazine, you're not going to read an article unless it pulls you in from the words that are being used and the images that are being used. But the shelf life of the print side is going to be much greater, because if you have a newsletter that maybe has a calendar of events on the back, let's say if you're a hotel, and there's a calendar of events for the month in the community and at poolside. Well, if someone's there for a week, they're going to be able to put that on their refrigerator versus having to look on their phone and get it. Print is definitely costly, but there are ways to cut back on that. You can do a full grayscale to where, the images are still beautiful, but they're gray. You don't have to print out as many if you aren't sending them. You can just have a few at a time that are on the countertop. And you can also not print out any, just have them. I have a stylist, a hairstylist, and he prints his newsletter out that we create. He prints it out and then he puts it in a really beautiful picture frame. And it just sits on his countertop so that when people are getting their hair done, they look at it. And then it gives him an opportunity to go over what's in the newsletter. And that's not going to work for everybody, but if you have a business similar to that, you can have, even if you have a few that are just sitting out, you can at least put your newsletter in the beautiful picture frame and then have a sign-up sheet right there. Like, did you get our monthly newsletter? Sign up here for the email side. So email, the great things about email are that it comes directly to your client. whether they're coming in to stay with you for a week or they're not going to stay with you for a year. They're going to get that email most of the time. Not 100%, but most of the time they're going to get that email. And remember, oh, when I want to go visit Ormond Beach, I'm going to think of Coral Sands Inn first. You don't have to worry about them picking it up. You don't have to worry about them getting it in the mail. It comes directly to them. And then it's on the reader, it's on the recipient to see if they want to then print it. So they have the ability to print out. And I know I get real frustrated when I need to print things out because ink is expensive, paper is expensive, and I use all my resources wisely. So I actually don't have my printer hooked up to my computer, so I have to actually plug it in every time I want to print. Now, not everybody's like that, but the good thing about an email newsletter is that there is the opportunity for those that want to print that newsletter out that they can, and they use their own resources instead of using yours. And if you decide to do one versus the other or do the same, you can always put in your email newsletter, visit our front desk to have a clean copy of this newsletter. So it's also on the go. Maybe they have it and they saved it and it's in their phone and they can look at it on the go. So if they're not at home where the information is going to be on the refrigerator from the print side, they can then see it on an email newsletter. So they go hand in hand, and there's ways to use your resources wisely on both sides. Email newsletters are going to be much more affordable to be able to put together, but you can also take the things that you're putting in your print and just double it in your email newsletter. So you're not recreating the wheel. So you're not paying for two different things in a higher cost way. In other words, if you have a company that's printing newsletters and you're creating all the content, well, then a company like mine, you don't have to pay a higher price for us if you're providing all the content to us. It's a lower price. So, and vice versa. If you have an email newsletter that's being created and you wanted to print it out, there's only a few different things that we have to do to make sure that it's print worthy so that when people hit print, it lines up perfectly to the size of the picture that you want. So the two together make a fantastic marriage, and I would just recommend that you look at your database and really see how many email addresses do you have versus how many people are in your database. And then what are the costs between the difference of those people? Is it really worth it to send 20 newsletters to those 20 clients? Of course it is. It's great to keep in touch with them. But if you're creating a marketing piece just for 20 people instead of using the email newsletter that you already have, well, then you may want to look at the time saving on that. And also the time saving on a print email, on how much time are you taking to create it, to put it together, to get it approved, to print it, to fold it, to put it in an envelope, to put a label on it, to put a return address label on it, to put a stamp on it, to lick it, to get it out the door and in the mail. I mean, it takes a lot. Is your time being used wisely? So I hope that this just a tidbit of information on what the cons are on both sides. Also for print, if you have a big distribution list, I've seen some of our clients, they send out a postcard and it says we're going green and we don't have your email address. We'd like to keep in touch with you. If you could email us your email address, we'll put you in a raffle or an opportunity drawing to win a free night stay. But you'd be surprised. People will, if you let them know that you're never going to share or sell their email address and that you're trying to go green, you're trying to conserve energy and resources and funding, you'd be surprised how many people actually understand that. And then that way you can only print it out when they need it or only a few copies at a time and can get rid of that one line item on the side. We love print. We love email. We love people keeping in touch with their customers. But this was just a few different suggestions for you to consider on email newsletters and print newsletters, creating a happy marriage. Have a great day.